Okay, fourth grade, today we're going to be talking about area and perimeter. I know this is something that you did in third grade, but we're going to go ahead and review how to solve area and perimeter and learn what formulas are today. As y'all know, perimeter is the distance around a figure. So when I ask you to sit on the perimeter of the carpet, we would all sit along the edge. If we're finding the perimeter of a rectangle, we would want to add up all the sides. So let's do this one little example right here. For starters, I'm given a rectangle, but only two sides are labeled. But if you remember, in a rectangle, the top and the bottom are always equal length and the sides are equal length. That means if the top is 18, the bottom has to be 18 centimeters. And centimeters is going to be what's called our units. If this side is 8 centimeters, this is the same length. So it's also going to be 8 centimeters. All right. To find the perimeter, we're going to add up all the sides. And we frequently will use L and W to stand for length and width. And so if you're looking at our picture here, the top and the bottom is going to be our length and the side's going to be our width. So we've got two lengths and two widths. That's a W. So if we're going to add up all the sides, we would do 18 plus 8 perimeter equals, let me write my equation, show my work, 18 plus the width is 8 plus 18 plus 8. Go ahead and solve that real quick. Okay, to solve, I added 8 plus 8 equals 16. I added 18 plus 18 equals 36, and then I added all of those together. You could do it in one step, but I find breaking it into two parts makes it easier. And I got 52, because then I added 36 plus 16. So the perimeter of this shape equals 52 centimeters, because we went around the shape. 52 centimeters would fit. All right. Another way to find perimeter is the same way, but we kind of write it differently, would be to do 2L plus 2W. Now, when 2 and L are right next to each other like that, it's the same thing as 2 times L. So that's saying instead of doing all this addition, I could say the perimeter of this shape is equal to 2 times the length. I see my length is 18. And then plus 2 times the width, which in this case is 8. And if we solve that, we would get the same thing. 2 times 18, I just did repeated addition here, is 36. I'm going to write that above. And 2 times 8, I know, is 16. So I could add those parts up and I'd get the same thing, 52 centimeters. So that is perimeter. Area is the space inside of a figure. If I said come to the area of the carpet, you would all be sitting on the inside, right in front of me in a big huddle. So if we were to find the area inside of this figure here, we could do it in two ways. We could count how many boxes fit, right? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I could count all of them. That is a tried and true way to find area. Or a more advanced way would be to multiply the length times the width. Remember, we're going to do length up here and width on the side. You do not need to do both sides, like all the sides, not length times width plus length times width, just the top times the side. Now, hopefully you're making a connection here and saying when we do an array, when we use an array to solve multiplication, we multiply the top times the side. And just like an area model, giant arrays are the same as area models. An array is when we multiply the top and the side to see how many boxes or how much whatever is in the middle. So to find area, we're going to multiply the top and the side, or the length times the width. Area equals length times width. So then I just need to count. On this side, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to label that. Now, over on my perimeter problem, it told me centimeters. This doesn't have a label, so I'm just going to write units. And that's just what we write when we don't know what we're measuring. But we've got 4 units. On the top, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I'm going to label that. The length is 8 units. And I could write U-N-I-T-S, the whole word, or I could just write a U and leave it like that. So now we're going to multiply. Area equals length times width. The length, 8, times the width, 4. Okay. Roxy, come here. So 8 times 4. To solve that, you can skip count. You could do repeated addition. Maybe you know it off the top of your head. I'll skip count. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32. So I counted by 4s 8 times and got 32. 32 what? Well, remember we didn't know. We had units, but we're not counting just how much is on the side, the distance. We're counting how many actual squares. So we're going to say 32 square units. Now, I'm just going to write SQU for square units. We can also abbreviate it by saying 32 units squared and put this little 2 exponent there. That's really hard to read. So 32 units squared, because 32 boxes fit in this rectangle, in this figure. And finding the area is the same as finding the value of an array. Okay. Remember, when we're finding the area and perimeter of rectangles, the squares are special rectangles. Now, what makes them special? They're special because the 4 sides of a square are all the same length, whereas a rectangle, it's not like that. So if I were to label the sides of this, if I know one side of a square, that means I know all the other sides because it's the same. So I know all 4 of these sides are 9 centimeters. Okay. To find the perimeter of a square, I can add up all the sides. 9 plus 9 plus 9 plus 9. Now, some of you are probably thinking, Ms. Hershey, that's repeated addition, and that is the same as multiplication. We know if one side is 9 centimeters and I have 4 equal sides, then I can solve 9 times 4, or 4 times 9. 4 sides times the side length. That's what this stands for, 4 times side, or 4S is 4 times the side length. All right, 9 times 4. I'm going to use my 9's trick where I put down 1, 2, 3, 4th finger. I see I have 36. So the perimeter is 36. Oh, I have my units, centimeters. Now, for the area of a square, it's the same thing. If I only have one side labeled, that's okay because I know they're all the same. If area is solved by length times width, length times width, but they're the same, then we can say area of a square is just side times the side. 9 times 9. So our area equals 9 times 9, or 81. And we're saying square centimeters. So little centimeter squares, squares that are 1 centimeter on the top and 1 centimeter on the side, 81 of them fit in here. So centimeters squared, or 81 square centimeters. Okay, let's do some examples. Oh, before we get to examples, these formulas, a formula is kind of like a math recipe. Just like when you're cooking, if you don't know how to do it, you just have to get the ingredients and then you can make it. A formula is like you just have to get the ingredients, you just have to get the length and the width, and then you can solve them that way. And this is a picture of your math cheat sheet. And it's awesome because one side has all the conversions that we were using last year or last week. It's been a long week, but not that long. And then this side of your star chart has formulas. So perimeter, square, and rectangle, it's showing you to add the lengths and the width, or do 4 times the side. And for area, rectangle, area equals length times width. So if you forget, you have it. All right. Lizzie sprinted around a square field every day to prepare for a track competition. Each side of the field is 32 yards. What is the perimeter of the field in yards? All right, important information. A square field, that's really important. Each side, keyword, is 32 yards. What is the perimeter of the square field? If you have an area and perimeter problem, you better be drawing pictures. So I'm going to draw my square field to the best of my ability. And I'm going to label the sides. If I know it's a square, all the sides are 32. What is the perimeter of the square field in yards? I know perimeter is equal to length plus width plus length plus width. Add up all the sides. If it's a square, I can add them all, or I can do one side, length 32 times 4. Let's go ahead and solve that. All right, whether you multiplied times 4 or added up all of them, you should either way get 128 yards, and so our answer is going to be C. A rectangular parking lot has a length of 64 feet and a width of 42 feet. What is the area of the parking lot? First step is to draw a picture, and let's set this up. I'm going to draw my parking lot and label my length and width. I've got 64 and 42. I'm going to write the formula for area. That's what I'm solving. Area equals length times width. So I am going to multiply these. I'm going to pause and solve. I did my multiplication, 64 times 42, and got 2,688 square feet. Lastly, we're going to do an exit ticket. Go ahead and try and solve this. Pause it and play once you are done. The trickiest part here is finding the length. We want to do 12 plus 3 since the width is 3 more. It's width plus 3. Then we want to add those up and get 54 feet.